Some days in this industry, you just do not want to wake up because they will throw all the rules right out the window and upend an entire industry that people count on and that has been growing for the past 4 years. So we're going to dive into that now on this very depressing episode of Hello, my name is Tom. I am a cannabis lawyer. You can email me at tom@collateralbase.com. That's the name of my law firm. This is my YouTube channel, Cannabis Legalization News. Smash them likes and subscribes if you find this episode useful. And we're going to be covering a whole bunch of new regulations that come out of the DEA regarding what it is to be hemp. And it appears that the DEA has a really hard time doing anything except for arresting people. And they're going to try to set up something that might threaten all the farmers that are out there and will end the resurgence in D8 THC that we're seeing. That's Delta-8 THC that has been huge. And it's just one of these things that you wake up on, and like I advised clients, and now like this new stuff comes out and I'm like, remember all that stuff that I said? Totally out the window now because there's a whole new thing that we have to talk about. It's really annoying. And if you want to talk about that, don't forget just to Google Cannabis Lawyer. You'll find me, Tom, at my website, cannabisindustrylawyer.com, an online resource where this will eventually be housed as well. We're going to go and have a deep dive into the 24 pages of the interim final rule. And again, if you're a friend of the show, you know that we do talk about policy a lot and how laws are changed, not only how laws are changed, but how laws are enforced. And one of the things that is going to happen is the DEA needs to enforce the 2018 Hemp Farm Bill regulations. Fortunately, those are still not yet there. We still have this crop year to get our supply, and hopefully an ex post facto law doesn't make all the current supply of hemp, make it illegal. But there is some terrible stuff, just terrible stuff. And first, before we dig into it, we're going to give a couple of shout outs and use that to do the summary for what we're going to be talking about here today. And let's get into it. And so shout out to Rod Kight, Kight on Cannabis. I saw this. He broke that story last evening because they come out today. Not only came out yesterday, they've been published. So they've been published yesterday, the DEA's Interim Final Rule. And what he does here, Mr. Kight explains this whip stuff. And so the whip stuff, it looks like it is out. And let me blow that up for you so you can actually see that. The Farm Bill contemplated and legalized whip, but it's WIPHE. You see, WIPHE stands for while in process hemp extract right there. So it's while in process hemp extract. And this is industry standard. All that hemp that's in the field, a lot of it is not going to be premium smokable hemp flower. A lot of it's going to be processed. And when that process is being done, the 0.3% level is not always met. Sometimes it goes a little bit up, but then by the time that the processing is completed, the extract is compliant. Now, it appears that the DEA's rules has made illegal these while in processing hemp extracts, and then they're not supposed to. And the reason they're not supposed to is because the Farm Bill itself says that the definition of hemp underneath it in the 2018 Farm Bill is a particular thing, and the regulations are overstepping on what the actual text of the law says. And so we're going to have some legal challenges if this ever goes into effect. We are in what they call the public comment period right now, and that public comment period is quite important. They actually start to reference it right at the top of these. Now, all these links, of course, are in the description. So while you're down there, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, but then click on over to the Department of Justice and you can go through the whole 24 pages yourself and swear appropriately, because you should. And then not only that, it does say, now you have 60 days to comment on this. And not only do you have 60 days to comment on it, it tells you how to comment on it. What do? You go to regulations.gov, and then there's going to be some forms that you can fill out there. And not only that, you have to make sure that you reference this particular type of docket number and this particular RIN, index number that it has right there. You can see it, RIN on the screen, 1117 AB53. And that is probably up here. There it is. That one right there. And while these things start to drill into it, the big takeaway is that the processing of hemp will be severely restricted because that it has said that this work in process hemp extract, this WIPHE, which I'll be sometimes referring to as WIP, is no longer considered hemp, and it is now considered marijuana, which would be just catastrophic. And of course, Attorney Kight here is reasoning that this goes against the very text of the Farm Bill itself, because the text of the Farm Bill itself has this on a dry weight basis, 0.3% on a dry weight basis. And again, this is the text of the Farm Bill right here, which it defines hemp and extracted it from the Controlled Substances Act, whether growing or not, with a tetrahydrocannabinol concentration of not more than 0.3% on a dry weight basis. And for whatever reason, and I think the reason is that the DEA just likes arresting people for anything that resembles a cannabis plant, they have made the 0.3% illegal because it is being processed. And so, like, Kight argues that the statute contemplated this. This was how CBD had been extracted for a long time in the last Farm Bill, and it is, for a long time. And so how are you going to take your CBD hemp and get it extracted without falling under what this new regulation says is a chemical process that is actually marijuana and not hemp, which is just ridiculous. But I don't get it. Well, I kind of get it. They like to arrest people, and they don't want to do anything besides that. And they probably are still butthurt that the hemp has been legalized and is no longer included in the definition of marijuana. So please do read Kight on Law. It's in the comments regarding the hemp WIPH extract being considered a chemical process that would not be subject to the Controlled Substances Act. So there it is. The IFR is deemed, and the IFR is the Interim Final Rule. The Interim Final Rule is right here. You can also find that, of course, linked below, and that is what is currently in the process of being finalized. And so the public comment period is there. Again, go to regulations.gov, and then don't forget to cite this particular docket number that you need to be able to make your comment and say, no, this is terrible. Doing this is going to end the industry. And then it kind of gets worse because the lesser cannabinols or the lesser cannabinoids, for example, your Delta-8 cannabinoid, that's this part 2 that Rod did. Again, this is in the description section below, and you can read the final rule here. And of course, Rod is very good. He does the same thing. Don't forget to go there and comment before October 20th, because that is when you have to get your comments in to say, no, stop doing this. Now, this one has to do with the DEA is improperly criminalizing Delta-8 THC derived from hemp. And so Delta-8 is the hottest thing. And somebody called me on it today, not today, this week though. And I had explained to them, like, no, if the Delta-8 is prepared from the hemp, it's probably lawful. Now, I don't know when they are going to try to make it illegal. And it turned out it was this morning. And so what they are now saying is that, and then here it is, this is the IFR language excerpt from the full rule here. The 2018 Farm Bill does not impact the controlled status of synthetically derived tetrahydrocannabinols for Controlled Substance Codes number 7370, because the statutory definition of hemp is limited to materials that are derived from the plant Cannabis sativa. That's it. For synthetically derived tetrahydrocannabinols, the concentration of Delta-9 is not a determining factor as whether the material remains a controlled substance. All synthetically derived tetrahydrocannabinols remain a Schedule I controlled substance. So, what does it mean to be synthetically derived? And then what happens is you look at the law, and then the law might have a definitional regarding what the meaning of synthetic derived is. Rod is citing to Wikipedia here, so I'm assuming that in either the 2018 Farm Bill or the Controlled Substances Act that has improperly included marijuana since its inception 50 years ago, probably also does not define synthetic. So the DEA is saying that when you take hemp and you process it, and then that process leads through a chemical method to Delta-8 THC, which is exceedingly popular. And so there's all these businesses that are out there right now. And my hemp farm plans are on hold, which sucks because I wanted to really open that hemp farm. And because now it looks like, all right, so you pick the hemp and then you start processing it and somebody shows up and arrests you. Or you pick the hemp and you do anything on it that has more than 0.3% total THC, 0.5%. If you're over that limit, then you're like you might get arrested territory based on the new USDA regulations. And again, I need to impress upon you, there is an election in November. The current administration is no friend to either hemp or to marijuana, cannabis at all. And so 3 senators need to change in the Senate. And then after those 3 senators are at least in the minority, the Safe Banking Act can pass. I'm not going to say the MORE Act is going to pass immediately, but the Safe Banking Act will pass. And then after the industry is able to grow and access banking for a little bit longer, then they can start lobbying Congress and say, hey, what the F are you doing? And so right now, I hope every single hemp farmer in America, once again, you should go to regulations.gov. And don't forget to cite this RN 1117-AB53 pile of shit that the DEA just shit out on the whole industry, and say, no, the 2018 Farm Bill legalized hemp, and you can't then go back to the administrative rules and say, okay, well, it legalized hemp, but you cannot use it. If you try to do anything with it, it then magically becomes marijuana. If you go over 0.3% Delta-9, but that's what it says, 0.3% Delta-9. But that doesn't matter because the USDA regulation says we're going to just do total THC. So they take the statute and they go, screw the statute. We're not going to look at that and say what that is. We want to keep arresting people. How come we're letting all these farmers grow this marijuana? And law enforcement confusion needs to just end, and THC hemp should just be taken out of the Controlled Substances Act altogether. But Joe Biden's not even up for that right now. Maybe he will evolve on that like he did. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The most important thing that you do, go to regulations.gov, cite that, and then be kind. Don't just tell these administrative thugs that they are administrative thugs and the only thing they're really interested in is arresting people. Please say, I have invested so much money in my hemp operation, including the extractions and all these other things, that equipment buys that I needed. I'm now greatly concerned that my process with processing my hemp, which is a work in process of hemp extract, where the Delta-9 THC levels routinely exceed 0.3% while it is just still in processing, but until it becomes, a broad spectrum, full spectrum extract, or you could just refine it all out so that it can become a broad spectrum extract and just have CBD. Is that a crime? Is it a crime to try to start processing your CBD through your extractors at all? How are you supposed to monitor and watch your THC levels while you're extracting your hemp in process? And that's what in the first part of Rod's 2-part series on these abysmal new DEA final rules. He really kind of gets at in the first part about with this work in process hemp extract as you are doing it. That's not dry weight basis. All right. So if the hemp that you had, as a result, a cannabis derivative extract or product that exceeds, all right, that's just what they're saying, but you have the dry weight basis from the hemp. And so that is by statute definition. And so if it was picked and it was tested according to the USD regs and it's 0.3% on a dry weight basis, great. Then when you throw it into the extractor and that 0.3% is a little bit kajiggered, because you're stripping the cannabinoids from the plant material. And then they're also requiring it to be 0.3% there, which is not what the statute says. It's a dry weight basis. So like you've picked the hemp, you've tested the hemp, it's hemp. Now that hemp can magically be transformed into marijuana when you start extracting it, or it could be magically transformed into another controlled substance, which is a synthetic tetrahydrocannabinol. And so that would be trying to attack and eviscerate the Delta-8 stuff that they're doing, which is not going to do anybody any favors. All those people that are right now processing into Delta-8 that are trying to sell their stuff, when will they have before Johnny Law comes and starts arresting them? You see, this is not yet in effect because these rules, they are effective after the public comment period, which we are currently in. Please go again to regulations.gov and then cite that. And then print this out, take some time to review it. And it just looks like the only thing that the DEA is really, really concerned about is arresting people for marijuana. And so it's just terrible. And then it's another one of these aspects where it's terrible. And then not only is it another one of those aspects where it's terrible, it's another one of those aspects where it's like, okay, we're relying on these rules. Here's what we know. We also know that it's going to change. And then one day it just totally changes. And so I hate that. But from October 31st or 29th, I think, is when the USDA rules came out for the 2021 crop year. And then now, about 10, 11 months later, with the DEA's final rule, it's just been terrible. I mean, like, hemp was legalized. It was great. And then the USDA says, whoa. And then the DEA says, And so it's like they are just trying to kill this whole industry after people fought so hard for it to get here. And so keep fighting so that it will continue to be here. But I'm not going to say that an administrative change wouldn't be a good thing. You know, I'm coming at you from my kitchen table, because sometimes when you have these types of cataclysmic conversations, you should be at a kitchen table. It just makes it seem a little bit easier to take. It's really not the best, to be honest. And so dig into these regs. The quick and dirty of it is like, it looks like it's putting an end to Delta-8. It also looks like it's putting an end to hemp processing, which doesn't make any lick of sense whatsoever. Yeah, I really wish I had better information or better news. Better news is coming, but the current administration doesn't seem like they really give two craps about the hemp industry. Sucks. Anyway, tune in this weekend. We're going to have a much happier show. We're going to be celebrating our 5,000th subscriber and having a good little time. But I got to get going. I'm going to read this, and then I got another call starting in 10 minutes on a different matter, which is still good law, fortunately. And that's just par for the course for the cannabis industry. Everything you get the hang of everything, and then you understand the rules, and then they throw them out the window. Good times. All right. Thank you so much for sticking around. And if you wanted to read Rod's great 2 articles, they're in the description section while you're down there. Click subscribe, click like, and then also click on over to the actual text of the DEA's interim final rule and follow up with them so that you can comment at regulations.gov and disapprove vehemently about this and tell them to back off. Tell them to not enforce these rules. This might be another thing where now, is this going to be an appropriation thing? Because if this administration or if this administrative body, because it's the DEA, I'm not sure if the administrative change. Well, hopefully they would name a new administrator to the DEA, maybe Cory Booker or something. That would be hilarious if Cory Booker was the DEA admin. And hate being at a loss for words, but that happens. Because suddenly you'll just, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face, and welcome to the cannabis industry. So, damn it. And so again, another thing we can do in the Congress is just defund them. And so, yeah, defund the DEA. If somebody has a hemp license from their state, try to make sure that there's no money for enforcing the federal hemp laws in that state. Something that they did with like the Rohrabacher-Farr amendment, but for hemp. That's one way to try to neuter these regulations that they have. Another way is to, remove THC cannabis from the Controlled Substances Act, because it never should have been there. And that was the point of the Schaefer Commission that nobody listened to back in 1972. And they just kept arresting people. They just keep arresting? Anyway, well, TGIF, everybody. How come that?